What's up, everybody, and welcome to the HexxedPhenom Gamescast, the show that brings you the video game news you need to know each and every week. And let me tell you, it's been a hell of a week for video game news, but we'll get into that. It goes live every Saturday on youtube.com/HexxedPhenom and on podcast services around the globe, places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, really any podcast service of your choosing. If you're listening on a podcast service that allows you to rate the podcast, please give us a good review. It really helps out with, having whatever that service is recommending our podcast to other people, so it helps out a ton. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Wojcik, aka HexxedPhenom, and I am joined by the abstract rocker, JP. JP, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Got a nice little sleep-in day before a late shift at work, which is kind of strange. So yeah, taking in stride. It's definitely going though, and really excited about a few things in life, but it's going. No doubts on that.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we are kind of on a time constraint because, like you said, you gotta go to work. So we're gonna skip over the what you've been playing part because, well, I mean, I don't know about you, but I know I haven't been playing anything different, and it's gonna start getting interesting here within like the next week or two when some more games start coming out. So
Damn right.
we're gonna skip past that, and we're gonna go to the news stories of the week, which literally are all about Activision. If you guys didn't know, if you've been living under a rock for the past couple days, Xbox, Microsoft have acquired Activision Blizzard King, which means that, I mean, obviously speculation, runs wild, but potentially, almost all, if not all of Activision's games and franchises could become Xbox exclusive. They will most likely definitely be day one on Game Pass whenever future releases happen. And so it's a very interesting prospect, and we are going to talk a hell of a lot about it today.
Oh yeah.
So let's just start off with, let's see. Let's just start off with Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. Activision Blizzard employees will ultimately report to Phil Spencer as CEO. This is by Maddie Myers over at Polygon. Microsoft plans to acquire Activision Blizzard, publisher of some of the world's most popular games on the planet, from World of Warcraft to Call of Duty, as well as the studios currently embroiled in multiple lawsuits related to accusations of gender discrimination in its workplace, the company announced Tuesday. Xbox boss Phil Spencer will serve as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming and oversee Activision Blizzard once the transition is finalized. The deal is worth $68.7 billion, Microsoft said, the largest acquisition in the company's history. In a blog post about the acquisition, Spencer said that Microsoft, quote, will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog, end quote. As far as the discrimination lawsuits, Spencer's blog post about the announcement and the announcement post from Microsoft made no direct mention of the situation. However, Spencer's post includes this paragraph about workplace culture. Quote, as a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures, but we also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment, end quote. Activision Blizzard is currently facing multiple lawsuits and federal investigations, as well as calls for its CEO, Bobby Kodak, to resign over serious allegations of sexual harassment and assault at the publisher and its studios, including Blizzard. Kodak will remain CEO of Activision Blizzard until Microsoft's acquisition of the publisher closes, which is expected to complete in 2023, Kodak said in an email to employees. Quote, until we receive all the necessary regulatory approvals and other customary closing conditions are satisfied, we are expected to... which we expect to be sometime in Microsoft's fiscal 2023 year ending June 30th, 2023. We will continue to operate completely autonomously, Kodak said. Quote, I will continue as our CEO with the same passion and enthusiasm I had when I began this amazing journey in 1991, end quote. In November 2021, after more than 1,000 Activision Blizzard employees signed a letter calling for Kodak to resign, Phil Spencer said in an internal email obtained by Bloomberg that they were, quote, evaluating all of our aspects of our relationship with Activision Blizzard and making ongoing proactive adjustments, end quote. Apparently, that evaluation included an appraisal of Microsoft's pocketbook and the possibility that it could afford to purchase Blizzard outright. I think that is kind of funny, is that, we're evaluating how we do things with Activision, knowing full well that they were making a move to buy them, which I think is interesting.
That's great. Oh yeah, that's That's something. No doubts on that.
But yeah,
It's
that's
quite a thing.
oh, sorry. I was going to say that's the first article, JP. Just based on what we've read so far, do you have any thoughts about the amount of money being exchanged, about the stuff we've read so far? How do you feel?
So is all this actually all of Activision or only Blizzard side of Activision?
It is all of Activision, Blizzard, and their mobile developer King. So it's
Oh,
literally every Activision studio, every IP, the entire company.
wow. Well, the only concern for me is a monopoly, and in that case, they wouldn't be able to buy it. So kind of hoping they just split everything up because clearly I'm not going to get an Xbox. So they're basically just going to screw a bunch of people out that can't buy the games now. So I hope they're very partial with what's happening, just because if not, it's going to turn right into a complete boycott and they're not going to make money on God millions of sales they could have had. So I hope they're not going to do a whole monopoly just because they wouldn't be able to legally buy it then. But yeah, that's my only concern is that they'll just start turning games only on the PC and Xbox, and it's not going to work because people just have the freedom of opinions anymore, and they think that it's bigger than life. So I'm sure you would see a hell of a lot of like controversy around that.
I
But
wonder if they'll even consider it a monopoly, though, because, I mean, Disney was able to get away with buying Fox, and that was worth roughly a similar amount of money. And that's after Disney had already acquired Marvel and Lucasfilm, which is Star Wars and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if this, gets through Congress or not, because, I mean, like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I don't know.
yeah, so that's my only concern. If it came down to the fact that things are only on Xbox, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not playing those games anymore. Simple as that.
I have
So
a few ideas of where things could go, but let's keep reading through some of these things, and then we'll talk about it. So the next one I found interesting isn't necessarily related to all this stuff, but I just thought it was funny. But it is Activision. So Bobby Kodak wanted to buy a gaming website to change Activision's public narrative, report says. A Wall Street Journal report said that he was interested in sites like PC Gamer or Kotaku. This is by Nicole Carpenter over at Polygon. In the lead up to Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, CEO Bobby Kotick was reportedly, quote, eager to change the public narrative about the company, end quote, according to a news report published Tuesday from the Wall Street Journal. Kotick's alleged big idea, buying a video game news publication like Kotaku or PC Gamer. The journal cited sources familiar with Kodak in the news report, which details how Activision Blizzard's workplace controversies allegedly influenced the $68.7 billion deal announced on Tuesday. As part of the transition, Kodak will remain CEO at least until the deal's closure, which is expected sometime in Microsoft's 2023 fiscal year, which ends June 30th, 2023. A separate journal report published Tuesday suggests Kodak will leave the company once Microsoft takes over. Hell fucking yeah. According to the journal's report, Kodak's suggestion to buy a gaming website came about in recent weeks. It's unclear whether or not that was before or after Microsoft stepped in to acquire the business. The journal said Activision Blizzard's, quote, troubles gave Microsoft the chance to come in with an offer. Quote, deal-hungry Microsoft had long been interested in Activision and had discussed a potential acquisition in the past, some of those people said, but Mr. Kodak was cool to the idea until Microsoft offered him a graceful exit, the journal reported.
well, I had a feeling he'd probably have one of those exits. So basically, yeah, like we predicted, he's gonna just walk and nothing's gonna happen to him. It's exactly what's gonna happen, except Microsoft gave him the way to do that, which they shouldn't have. I don't think they should have done that.
Yeah, he's going to make a fat fucking payday on his way out, which is fucking stupid.
That's probably the only thing about it is that like I think Microsoft, for how much like shade they threw at Activision and Bobby Kotick, they're basically just giving him his way, and I don't think that's possible. Like Microsoft basically is, by doing that, they're essentially saying it's okay, Bobby, you can walk out and we'll give you this money. It's like come on, you should have just kicked him out. Like
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's my only opinion on what they did in terms of like, oh yeah, you have a graceful exit. It's like I would have been like, nah, get the fuck out of here, bud. It's time to go.
See, and obviously I have no fucking clue how business acquisitions work or anything with legal shit, so I have no idea. But I think it was either, I don't know. I thought it was part of his contract with Activision that if they were ever acquired, that he would get like a certain percentage of the money spent to acquire the company. So I don't think was necessarily Xbox's decision to give him a graceful exit. I mean, there could have been, I have no idea. That's just what I had read. Maybe I misread it or what, but still, I think that there's no reason that he should be getting. I think somebody said that he'll be getting like $260 million on his way out. Like, fuck off.
Exactly right. It's just, man, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I just gotta love it.
But I mean, other than that, like, as frustrating as that part is, let's go back to the fact that Codec's way of trying to change the public opinion on Activision was not actually fixing the problems at the studio. It was that he wanted to buy a gaming news site so that he could force them to write good articles about Activision. Like, that was his attempt of trying to change the public opinion about the company instead of actually fixing shit. Like,
it's not really a bad idea in terms of how narrative goes anymore. That he would just have to keep it secret that he bought the company. But yeah,
and I don't know if you'd be able to do that.
That happens all the time. Like, it's PR and it's fully legal. It's just, you just pay them to write articles and stuff. But yeah, so he definitely tried to.
I think people would have been able to figure it out pretty easily, because it would have just been like, randomly, just one day, Kotaku's like, Activision's not that bad, and everyone would have been like, that's a little sus. So
that's a little sus. And they'd be like, well, we have no idea. And they'd be like, oh, whatever. And they keep going with it. Yeah, so it's definitely interesting with how this whole thing goes. No doubts on that.
All right, let me see. There's an article here about what happens to Bobby Kotick, but I think we kind of already covered it in that last one, that basically he'll remain CEO of Activision until the deal closes. Once that happens, he's expected to leave, and then all the Activision studios will report to Phil Spencer, who's the head of Xbox, as their CEO. So Codec's gone. Fucking hell yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, he's getting a big ass fucking payday on his way out, which is fucking stupid. They should have sent him fucking home with just the fucking clothes on his back. Dude probably has fucking billions in a bank account somewhere anyways. Like, dude does not need an extra $250 million for no reason.
It's probably an offshore bank account too. Payday style,
Yep.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's see. This one, talking more about the employees of Activision. Labor organizers say Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard won't stop them. The news does not change the goals of the ABK Workers Alliance. This is by Charlie Hall at Polygon. On Tuesday, Microsoft announced its plans to acquire Activision Blizzard, makers of Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, and many other popular video game franchises, for a reported $68.7 billion. The move comes amidst heightened tensions between leaders of Activision Blizzard and workers attempting to form a union. Organizers say that despite the distraction and the potential for new leadership, the fight for workers' rights at Activision Blizzard is still ongoing. In a statement Tuesday on Twitter, the Activision Blizzard King Workers Alliance was adamant that the change must come from the top of the company regardless of who the owner is. Quote, the news of Activision's acquisition by Microsoft is surprising, said the Activision Blizzard Kings Alliance in a statement today on Twitter. Quote, but does not change the goals of the ABK Workers Alliance. We remain committed to fighting for workplace improvement and the right of our employees regardless of who is financially in control of the company, end quote. It's the situation that Activision Blizzard has largely brought upon itself. The story began last summer with detailed reporting at Kotaku and other outlets describing a hostile work environment decades in the making. In September 2021, the U.S. Equal Opportunity Commissions filed a formal complaint against Activision Blizzard. In it, they claimed that the video game publisher subjected employees to sexual harassment, pregnancy discrimination, and retaliation. The issue was settled to the tune of $18 million, but in the weeks and months that have followed, even more unsavory stories have come to light. One worker said the company suffers from, quote, alcohol-soaked culture of sexual harassment, end quote.
Alcohol-soaked.
And then, yeah, this kind of goes on very much to summarize all of the things that we've heard about the company's issues and many lawsuits over the last few months, which if you guys want to see all of it chronicled, you can just go back and watch all of the episodes of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast. We've covered this in detail in pretty much every episode, yeah. So
yep, essentially every episode, yeah. Sounds about right.
But I mean, hell yeah, like I respect these workers for saying like we're not going to have blind faith in Microsoft just yet. We're going to keep fighting. And I don't know if they can I mean, I don't know how any of this stuff works. I don't know if they could legally unionize while the company is in transition to a different owner, but either way, I hope that if, you know, obviously it seems like what these people want is to unionize, and as long as they get that option once they're a part of Microsoft, or even hopefully before then, that would be incredible. That would be great. So I hope, you know, the ABK Workers Alliance get what they want, and I hope that, you know, obviously with Microsoft, that they are treated fairly and, you know, not like how they've been treated under Codec for the last how many years.
It's just funny knowing that Bobby Kodak has been the head of Activision for as long as I've been on this earth.
Yeah.
30 fucking years. Like, it's just funny because like the Guns N' Roses albums, Use Your Illusion turned 30 as well, and in 21, and now we got the remasters coming, which I'm excited for. But it's interesting just thinking that he has been the fucking CEO of the company as long as I've been alive. That's crazy.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
And as far as reports go, the earliest one was either 2008 or 2006 in terms of him doing, you know, sexual misconduct or fostering it or whatever. And I'm sure they probably go back even further than that. But
oh, exactly, right.
But I mean, like I said, you know, I hope the workers get if they want to be in a union, I hope they get that. That's their choice, and that should be theirs alone to make.
Should be quite interesting.
So let's see. All right, let's read this one. This is Microsoft buys Activision. How will two video game giants come together? A $68.7 billion deal brings Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Diablo to Xbox Game Pass. Activision Blizzard, the company behind billion-dollar franchises like Call of Duty and Warcraft, immensely popular PC staples like Diablo and Overwatch, and oh yeah, mobile gaming behemoth King and its Candy Crush empire will be sold to Xbox maker Microsoft for $68.7 billion. The two companies announced the deal, which still must face government regulations in an 18-month closing process, on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. This has enormous ramifications for the video game industry, not least in how it concentrates some of the biggest selling names in console gaming under one roof, or under the roof of one of those console makers. Activision Blizzard has also been roiled by workplace scandal over the past 6 months, including a lawsuit from California regulators, a reckoning with a toxic and discriminatory workplace culture, and a question of Chief Executive Bobby Kodak's fitness for the job after more than 30 years in charge.
Goddamn.
Here, Polygon rounds up all the coverage of the landmark day in video gaming, what it means for players and fans of Xbox consoles and Activision Blizzard games, and what the future of both companies may look like once the deal is complete. So they have this like set up in a whole ass timeline. So I guess I didn't realize that this was organized this way, but let's go back to the very beginning, I guess. So January 18th, Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard for 68.7. Oh, I think this is just linking to all the different articles, which I have most of them open. Let's see. Yeah, it does just link to all these articles that I already have open. Okay.
All right, cool.
The only ones I don't have open is that it says the Microsoft Activision deal better not mean the Diablo Netflix show is canceled, which I didn't even know there was a Diablo Netflix show happening. But I assume if that contract is already like signed, that it's still going to happen. And then the only other thing is World of Warcraft and Game Pass could be a match made in heaven, which I didn't click on.
Speaking of Game Pass, we're still waiting for the PlayStation thing to come out. I'm guessing that could be announced any damn day now at this point.
Yeah, pretty soon. I mean, there was a news article that I don't think we touched on over the last couple of weeks. I think maybe it was last week that we missed. That PlayStation has told retailers in, I don't know if it was all of Europe or just the UK, to stop selling PlayStation Now gift cards, like physical PlayStation Now gift cards.
I didn't even know they had gift cards.
They haven't in the US for the last like year. They stopped selling them in the US like a year ago.
Okay.
So I don't know if they just are pushing people to buy them digitally, or if they had been planning on this Spartacus thing for a while, which, I mean, granted, something like this, you do have to plan for a while, but I think it might be a combination of just wanting to push more people to the PlayStation Store proper, and also this Spartacus thing possibly being, I mean, we basically know it's coming. Like, Bloomberg is very reputable. Like, if it doesn't come out in spring or get announced by spring, it just means it was delayed. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. So
Bloomberg's very reliable. So I'm excited just to see what it is. I was just curious to see if there was anything going on, because we're getting near that time.
Yeah,
it's just great because I'm on a time frame in that month itself for many things in the future and all that good stuff. But just from being now involved heavily in business and building things up and day-to-day operations, I could definitely see I could see why they probably would start putting the brakes on certain things while they are building to this path that will lead us to Spartacus. So it'll take time, but it'll eventually come out of the oven. It'll be big fresh. So I'm ready to see when that happens.
hell yeah. All right, let's see. Let's go with this one. Here's everything Microsoft now owns under the Activision Blizzard deal. A buying spree that began with Minecraft crests with Call of Duty. This is by Owen S. Good at Polygon. Microsoft's $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard doesn't give the maker of Xbox and the home of Halo control of everything significant in console gaming history. Sony still stands apart with its strong stable of PlayStation exclusives, and while EA, Take-Two, and Ubisoft continue to jockey for position across all platforms. But it's damn close to everything. Since 2014, when Redmond shook $2.5 billion from its piggy bank to acquire Mojang and Minecraft, the company's been on an escalating buying spree that has brought a who's who directory of AAA games to its Xbox Game Pass library, now over 25 million subscribers strong. Pillared at the beginning of the Xbox One console generation for a supposedly waning interest in video games, Microsoft soon vowed under the new head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, that it would adopt a new diamond-hard focus on the games, the good games, and nothing but the games. So help him God, he's made good on that. Here are all the major franchises, developers, and names in the game that Microsoft now has control over. So this is stuff they already had control over, plus the Activision stuff. I'm not going to read all of they go in depth to explain all the different franchises. I'm just going to list them off. Halo, Gears of War, Minecraft, Hellblade, State of Decay, Wasteland, Double Fine, and Obsidian's Adventures. Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, and Doom. And now, Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch, Warcraft, plus much more. I'll read into this one because it's what we're mainly focused on. Tuesday's $68.7 billion deal would bring Microsoft's number of internal game studios to 30. With them would come billion-dollar cornerstones like the annual Call of Duty series and the landmark MMO World of Warcraft. Blizzard Entertainment's Diablo and Overwatch franchises, both due for new releases in 2023, could be the first games published by Microsoft once this deal closes. That's to say nothing of King, the mobile game maker behind massively popular franchises such as Candy Crush. And that's not all. Activision's back catalog includes the remasters Spyro Reignited trilogy, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, and Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, as well as the franchises preceding them. The company was also one of the last heavy hitters to do licensed non-sports video games with remakes of GoldenEye 007, Transformers, Spider-Man, and the Cabela's Outdoor series. Guitar Hero and Skylanders, which the company shut down in recent years, are still there if the music companies or Toys to Life, or if the music gaming or Toys to Life genres respectively ever make a comeback. And hell, Pitfall, the first blockbuster video game IP developed specifically for consoles, is an Activision product. Although Microsoft has acquired a year-in, year-out bestseller like Call of Duty and 2 A-list franchises for which any development is breaking news, buying Activision gives the company control of a video game history going back to the dawn of console gaming itself.
Oh, hell yeah.
Isn't it fucking insane how the gaming industry works that Crash and Spyro, 2 PlayStation icons, could now potentially be Xbox exclusive? Like, isn't that fucking insane?
That's fucking crazy, man. I'm just like, it's really just crazy thinking about like what could happen. I mean, regardless if it goes the other way, I'm just stonewalling them. So yeah, and I know I'm not the only one that's going to do it. But the thing is, it's really interesting knowing that it could easily become like Xbox exclusives. But I don't think they're going to do that. I really honestly think all the yearly titles that make a lot of money are still going to be on every console. Maybe they'll take Bethesda and they'll take certain things, but that's not really a huge loss anyway, because compared to other games, they don't make as much. But Tony Hawk and like Spyro and Crash, you kind of got to have them on PlayStation. I mean, if not, Backlash immediately. There's just common sense things that they have to do, like Call of Duty. That can't be Xbox exclusive because you basically kill the franchise. I mean, it's obvious what's going to happen. So the other games in between, yeah, I think they'll probably be exclusives or half and half or something like that. But yeah, I think it's cool they acquired Activision, but like, yeah, like I said, if it's going to be a monopoly, they can't buy them legally. So they can't do what many people are like, oh shit. It's like, nah, you can't just do that. That's a monopoly and that's legally not acceptable. So yeah, they have to watch what they're doing with this deal because yeah, if it steps in the monopoly waters, Congress could easily be like, nope, fuck you guys, you're not taking it. And that's how it's gonna go.
That's why I think it's so interesting, because it's like, I don't know, like, I don't know how it's going to go, because I mean, like I was saying earlier, Disney had a similarly huge acquisition of Fox, and the government didn't give a shit about that. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but it could.
I don't know. I think in terms of cable, that's different. Like gaming is a completely different thing because that would be like, yeah, let's just take every main studio and let's just put it under PlayStation. That would be a monopoly. If PlayStation bought Activision, I could already see the Xbox people going, "That's a monopoly." And now they have the Activision thing. They're all like, "Yeah," but that's just how playing politics works.
Well, yeah, but also like, I think you have to take into consideration that most people in Congress probably don't even understand what the fuck video games are about.
Yeah,
Most of them are fucking like 70 and 80 years old.
Yeah, that's the thing though. When they see how much money comes in, it's kind of yeah, you kind of can't just stonewall other game companies. I mean, that's like Lowe's and Home Depot taking up the market. There's other companies out there. I mean, if they took the rights, that's kind of like when GameStop bought EB Games and Game Crazy. That was kind of ruled a monopoly, and they slowly got into it, but they couldn't do it immediately. So yeah, it's yeah, it's interesting. I mean, hey, if it happens, then fuck them. I'm not buying those games anymore. I mean, it's as simple as that. You know, and so the gamers are going to immediately think with their wallets. Some of them might go and get an Xbox. Not saying they won't, but a lot of people are usually set in their ways. That would be like Nintendo trying to buy out huge studios. Like there would be a problem with that. It's just you can't force people to conform to your shit because you bought the market. It's not going to happen. People care way too much about their opinions anymore, and obviously nobody wants to be wrong on the internet. So, or even in humanity. So it's just kind of like one of those things you have to take it day by day and see what happens because it kind of is a monopoly if they were going to do that. And like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not buying an Xbox, so my money's there. If they want it, they could have it. If not, whatever. You know.
There's, I'll give my opinions on what I think is going to happen, but first I'm going to read this article that came out this morning. Sony expects Microsoft to keep Activision games multi-platform. The Call of Duty franchise remains the biggest question for the future. This is by Nicole Carpenter over at Polygon. Following Microsoft's acquisition announcement of Call of Duty publisher Activision Blizzard, Sony responded Thursday to the idea that certain games may eventually become Microsoft exclusives. Quote, "We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform," a Sony representative told the Wall Street Journal. This is in line with what Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer wrote Tuesday, following the announcement that Blizzard Activision games are played on plenty of different platforms, and that Microsoft plans to, quote, "continue to support those communities moving forward." This is my own anecdote, but just remember he said the exact same thing when they acquired Bethesda, and then 2 months later, Starfield was announced as Xbox exclusive. So I'm not listening to Phil Spencer worth shit right now. Continuing with the article.
I don't really care about Bethesda, so for me, it doesn't really do much, but I understand that they're going to do it to, they're definitely going to do it to certain IPs, but I don't see them going, yeah, Call of Duty, Xbox. Crash, Xbox. Because when PlayStation had it, they had them on Xbox. So I don't think that's gonna happen. And if they do, then I just give them a middle finger. That's basically what happens.
Yeah, like I said, I think I have two scenarios of what I think is going to happen, but like I said, after this article, I'll kind of break it down. Sony's statement Thursday leaves a bit more room for interpretation, bringing in a larger question. What happens to Activision Blizzard games on PlayStation consoles once those contractual agreements are up? A Bloomberg report citing sources said Microsoft will keep, quote, some of Activision's games on PlayStation consoles, but, quote, some content will be exclusive to Microsoft and Xbox. Quote, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, but we remain committed to that, Spencer told Bloomberg. Microsoft's approach to other acquisitions are all over the board. While Microsoft plans to make highly anticipated Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 Xbox exclusive, the company has a history of multi-platform support with Mojang's Minecraft. With this in mind, it's possible that Microsoft will keep current releases on multi-platform while limiting big new releases to Xbox and PC. What's for certain, though, is that PlayStation is no longer the exclusive home of Call of Duty, as announced by PlayStation CEO Andrew House in 2015. So, with all that being said, I think there's two potential ways that this goes down. I think one, and I think this is probably the more likely of the two, is I think that big multiplayer games that would need to thrive on having a big audience, so things like Call of Duty, things like Overwatch, I don't know much about Blizzard's catalog, so I don't know what else is like. If they make a console port of World of Warcraft, I don't know if they will. But stuff like that, things that are big multiplayer games, I think will still be multi-platform. I think they will have some type of exclusivity to Xbox, whether that, well, I mean, it'll be on, all those games will be on Game Pass day one, regardless of what they are. On top of that, I don't think they'll do like I don't think we'll go back to, them getting DLCs early or anything like that.
Not that it matters anymore.
With it being crossplay, they really can't do that.
And they can't do that. And this isn't 2008, 2009 anymore. It's just, see, the funny part was, though, even when the exclusive DLCs worked, it really wasn't worth it because they just became guinea pigs. Like, I remember when Call of Duty would have the month access to DLC, you would see all the bullshit, all the glitches, all the crashes, all the mods, and I'd be like, so they're guinea pigs. Okay, that's not really cool, but if you guys want to have fun and play it early and be guinea pigs to something, then okay. Then Xbox tried turning on PlayStation. It wasn't the same, and they pretended that it was, and it wasn't. Honestly, the exclusive DLCs really created nothing but like a divide because we really just laughed at Xbox players because they had access to like DLC that wasn't fully finished. And then it got patched, and then it came out on PlayStation and there were no fucking problems for the most part. So it's definitely not the same era. It won't fly. Cross-platform will make it impossible.
Yeah.
And it's just, as soon as these deals came around, all these little stupid trolls from Xbox came back to reignite the great debate on DLC exclusivity. And it's like, guys,
console wars are always going to be a thing because there's always going to be people that need to feel that they need to feel justified in the choice of console they went with. So even though they don't necessarily hate Xbox, like subconsciously they're like, well, I have a PS5, so I need to tell everybody that PlayStation is the greatest and they are so much better than Xbox in every imaginable way, just because I want to feel justified in my $500 purchase over the other $500 purchase I could have made. It's all stupid. But continuing on, I feel like I could see for Call of Duty, I could see similar stuff that we've been like similar exclusivity that we've been seeing for the past couple of years. Like, hopefully not an entire mode locked off like they did with Onslaught, but I could see like how every season how there's been like you'll get like a free like PlayStation Plus like DLC pack that comes with like a new weapon skin and a new character skin. I could see all that stuff now being exclusive to the Xbox versions instead. Um, I'm sure there'll be other like random exclusive Xbox content. And then honestly, I think anything that's a single player game, like a new Crash, a new Spyro, a new Tony Hawk game, like that's something that might have multiplayer modes that but isn't necessarily built for multiplayer, I could see all of those being just straight up Xbox exclusive, or at least maybe timed exclusive or something. But
Maybe.
probably most likely full exclusive.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely gonna be interesting. Well, thank God this doesn't take effect until 23 anyway. So realistically, the best Tony Hawk games for the most part are gonna be already on both consoles. Unless they start doing the underground. But yeah, no, there's no way they're gonna chokehold stuff. If they really want to see a dip in sales, they could chokehold whatever they want.
But see, they don't necessarily care about sales because they're going to be putting all these games on Game Pass anyways, and those aren't sales. That's just getting people to subscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah,
so they don't really care about sales.
Well, I mean, they should, because I'd have to buy an Xbox to even get Game Pass. So the way I see it is they already failed me at step one, because not getting an Xbox. And honestly, even if I did, I would not sub the Game Pass because I'd have the PlayStation one. So like I said, people will definitely play it their way. I mean, I know they have this perfect reality of how it's going to go, but people will literally just give them the finger and be like, nope, not happening. And that'll be the end of it. Yeah, it's just you know, like I said, if they want to create a monopoly, they might not even get the right to buy it. But at the same time, if they want to play that, then I guess I'm done playing those games. Like I said, it's not going to be this perfect conformation that they think it's going to be with, oh yeah, we'll put it on there and we'll get sales and we'll get people to buy Xboxes. It's like, no, especially during a pandemic. No, no way. My friends can't even buy a damn Xbox Series X. So yeah, maybe they should, you know, make their console more available if they want people to buy their Xbox to play these games. That's my PlayStation fanboy opinion of that.
I mean, PlayStations aren't available either. So, I mean, both of them need to work on that. And it's not necessarily their fault either. I mean, global pandemic, chip shortage, like, it's neither of the company's fault that we can't buy new consoles. But yeah, the other scenario that I could see, and I doubt this will ever happen, is I saw somewhere, I don't remember where, but somebody was saying, what if this is Microsoft trying to like bait Sony basically into putting Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation? Because when they first started Xbox Game Pass, Phil Spencer said that he wants Game Pass everywhere, on TVs, on other consoles, on PC, on anywhere that you could play a game. He wants Game Pass on there. So I could kind of see him trying to hold these games hostage and being like, listen, I mean, you could have these games, but you got to put Game Pass on PlayStation. And I highly doubt PlayStation's ever going to do that. But
Well,
I could see that being their leverage point.
in theory, there is a back door. If I really wanted to screw Xbox, I could just get the companion app through the Mac, and I could play the games through my thing on my PlayStation controller. So realistically,
yeah, you can play them through xCloud, but that's what they want. As long as you're playing the game, they don't care.
But I'm not playing on my Mac, so they can go fuck themselves. But yeah, it's just you know, if it came down to that, what I would do is I would probably pirate everything. That's probably what would happen. I would probably figure out a widget to easily get in, and I could play through this, through that. But you know, if they really want to play that game, they could be my guest. But yeah, in a world where you could literally hack the crap out of anything and modify anything, I don't think they really want to push that envelope early. But you know, it's yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, this is literally a year or more away at times. So we don't even know if they could even legally buy the damn assets to the company yet. I mean, that's cool that they said they want to buy it, but just like a housing project, you can go and buy it and you can be denied. So it's, you know, once it's set in stone, okay, I'll think about it a little more, but I'm not gonna, you know, that if they really want to do that, I just won't play the games, because I'm not even putting that much effort into like going around the circle and through the back door. I mean, I could easily do it. I know people that can make it happen, but it's not worth my time. They, because the thing is, what are they going to do with Crash Bandicoot? I mean, like, really, Crash 4 wasn't all that good. Let's be real. Like, what the hell could they possibly do now?
I thought Crash 4 was good. I just thought they made it way too fucking hard for no reason.
Yeah, I wasn't even that sold on Crash 4. I was excited until it got way too hard, and then honestly, to this day, I haven't even played halfway through it. I'm just like, whatever, this game's shit, and I deleted it from my console. I'm like, whatever. Spyro, well, they technically can't just put that on Xbox because that's literally been developed to be on PlayStation, and it's going to come out before they acquisition it. So I don't know, man. They might not even really be able to get much out of these series by the time they get it, because if Tony Hawk 3 and 4 comes out, the only thing they could capitalize on is possibly Tony Hawk's Underground and American Wasteland, and that's the later part of the series that many people didn't rave about. I mean, Tony Hawk Underground 1 and 2 was great, but American Wasteland, I mean, it's going to literally be an underground port with American Wasteland levels. I mean, they're not going to get American Wasteland remastered. There's no way. So the way I look at it, by the time they acquire these titles and make moves, they might not even have the cream of the crop when you think about it. Because say Call of Duty has Modern Warfare 2, which is going to be a disaster, I'm sure, but sell. 23 would be the Black Ops game, which they cannot technically chokehold. So 24 would be the first.
Well, we don't even know how. I mean, these contractual obligations that PlayStation's talking about, we don't even know. Like that article points out, we don't know how long they go for or what games they're specifically for.
Yeah.
So
it's not really even like, when you think about it, it's not a full acquisition. Because
I mean, it will be at some point, but I mean,
at some point, but not nowhere near anytime soon. So yeah, my friends are like, yo man, they bought them. I'm like, nope, not yet. So that's how I look at it. I really don't even think they really are gonna, at this point, unless something fucking off the wall happens with Call of Duty, that's not really gonna be a hot sell. I mean, it's Call of Duty.
See, that's another thing, is I want to know what they're going to do with Call of Duty, because I don't know, I could see them honestly being like, hey, pump the brakes on this, and like once they have full control over it, like I could see them being like, hey, let's pump the brakes on this. Maybe we'll give, like, I don't know, say with the Black Ops game. I don't know if they'll have enough time to institute this before it comes out. But say they're like, hey, Sledgehammer would technically be the next one up. If they go to Sledgehammer, they're like, hey, we're going to give you an extra year to work on this game. We're going to skip a year of release. We'll give you an extra year to work on this game. Treyarch, you guys are going to have to work on an extra year of content for Black Ops, whatever it ends up being. Black Ops 2.
Yeah, I know, right?
But, I mean, they could potentially do that. I mean, they could start skipping years with Call of Duty. They could put them out every 2 or 3 years. They could keep releasing them annually. But I mean, I think that's going to lead to, I mean, that's obviously leading to burnout. And it's like, yeah, you're putting a lot of money on the table. Like, you're losing a lot of money by not releasing Call of Duty every year, because it is always the best-selling game every single year. But also, like, even though it's the best-selling game every year, like, you can't deny that the quality has been slowly going downhill. I mean, granted, we've had, some, like, uphill spikes here and there, but I mean, overall, like, it's been going downhill for years. So I mean, I think potentially giving the developers even more time to work on these games could work out pretty well for them. And I don't know how much differently Microsoft would run, the Call of Duty side of things, like if they would make drastic changes to it, or if it would just be kind of business as usual for the most part. Like, would they change monetization? Would they change skill-based matchmaking? Would they change, whatever?
I doubt it. That'd be great, but yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, just at the state that COD's in, it's like I said, I think that they're really not. If it came exclusive, I don't think they're going to be getting anything that fucking crazy. I mean, God, like, fucking Treyarch just burned the fuck out. The other studios don't know what they want. Infinity Ward is in a goddamn box. I mean, they really, if that happens, they really aren't getting what they really should get. Clearly it's not going to work. But if they really want to do it, I mean, they could do it. It's just, like I said, honestly, at the end of the day, they're just creating a console war out of this whole thing. So unless they want a console war, which I know they don't, they are going to play nice and do a half and half and keep some and give some. And the main series are probably going to be half and half, because if not, I think that's a pretty stupid way of doing it. And that's a monopoly, and that shouldn't be legally possible. So, and if that's the case, people will just push back and backlash and completely flip the fuck out. And yeah, it's really just how it's going to go, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is all speculation. We don't even know if the deal's going to go through, but it's just interesting to talk about, to see like what potentially could be the future of Xbox and Activision and what that means for the industry as a whole. But I mean, let's see what other articles there are here. Here, let's read this one. 5 issues that Microsoft faces in its acquisition of Activision Blizzard. This is by Austin Goslin over at Polygon. Microsoft is acquiring Blizzard, the company's announced on Tuesday, but the deal isn't exactly done yet. And even then, or even when the $68.7 billion deal has been made official, Microsoft will still have plenty of complicated situations to sort out after it's been settled. So the first one, the Federal Trade Commission and the EU. The mergers of this size have to be approved by regulatory bodies. Most prominently, the United States Federal Trade Commission, the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, and the U.S. Department of Justice, and likely the European Union. While deals like this often aren't obstructed, both the Federal Trade Commission and the EU have recently grown more hostile of the idea of big tech acquisitions over fear that further consolidation could lead to harmful monopolies. One outstanding question is whether Microsoft's new deal will be treated as a tech acquisition or an entertainment acquisition. While big tech has received scrutiny over the last several years, entertainment deals like Disney's acquisition of Fox have been met with fewer antitrust concerns. While Microsoft is undoubtedly one of the biggest tech companies in the world, it's possible the video game subject matter will keep this deal firmly on the entertainment side of the FTC and EU's radar. However, as Microsoft has positioned this deal as an important play in the metaverse, a decidedly big tech-dominated space, it's still possible it could raise a few red flags. If this is deemed a big tech deal, then it will likely face increased scrutiny. The recently appointed head of the FTC, Lena Khan, is likely to be tougher on big tech than previous heads of the organization, and President Biden issued an executive order in July that announced his administration's intentions to protect economic competition, particularly in tech. In fact, just a few hours after Microsoft's announcement, the FTC announced that it's starting a process to modernize its merger guidelines for major companies, especially in digital spaces, which could have a major effect on this particular deal. Number 2, toxic workplaces. Since July 2021, Activision Blizzard has come under heavy fire from all sides because of the accusations of toxic and alleged criminal behavior in and around its workplace. The instances were brought to light largely because of various official legal complaints filed by the U.S. regulatory bodies, including one by California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing, one by the Security and Exchange Commission, and one by the U.S. Employment Commission. The complaints detail allegations of sexual harassment, workplace bullying, demeaning behavior, and instances of sexism and racism. The complaints eventually led to a walkout by employees, esports sponsors withdrawing support, and several resignations and firings of high-profile employees from several different studios. Activision Blizzard has since settled several of the complaints. The GP, sorry, I know I cut you off when we started talking about the second one. Do you want to swing back to the first one for a second and say what you were going to say?
Oh no, you're all good. Like I said, I'm not surprised because they're really focusing on tech and like futuristic stuff, and that's why I'm like, well, immediately this is already at the federal government because I already know they started that. So yeah, it's gonna be something.
I wonder what happens if this doesn't go through. Like, do they just like, okay, well, fuck it, that we tried and that's it, or do they they buy up like minority stake in the company? Like, I wonder how this ends up playing if it doesn't actually end up going through. But like we said, it's all just speculation for now. We won't really know for a while what happens. Raven Software's potential union. Since the walkout in July, many Activision Blizzard employees have collectively founded a group called Activision Blizzard King Workers Alliance with the intent to organize fellow employees and help create a better working environment in the company. In December, the calls for organization got even louder as many employees at Activision's Raven studio went on strike, which is still ongoing, with the goal of pressuring the company to rehire several contractors who had suddenly been let go right before the holidays. The same group is also seeking unionization at the studio. The quest to unionize studios has been ongoing across the video game industry over the last several years, with employees of studios like Paradox Interactive signing collective bargaining agreements and employees of Nexon, a Korean studio, forming a union. Unionization tends to take a substantial amount of time, meaning that if Activision Blizzard's employees were to organize on a large scale, it would likely be up to Microsoft to work with them and recognize the unions themselves. Number 4, Bobby Kodak. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kodak has been a controversial figure in games for years. Criticism of Kodak only grew after the many allegations and the legal complaints surfaced, with many, including Polygon, calling for his resignation. Despite all of these alleged issues cropping up during his time at the head of the company, however, Kodak remains CEO of Activision Blizzard. The initial news of Microsoft's acquisition immediately garnered passionate responses that Microsoft must fire Kodak immediately, particularly given that Xbox boss Phil Spencer seemed to condemn Activision Blizzard in the wake of the lawsuits. Of course, business dealings aren't quite that simple. Major management changes are rarely announced in the middle of an acquisition, in part because the acquiring company doesn't really have any control over the company they're attempting to acquire. According to a report from Wall Street Journal, Kodak is expected to leave following the completion of the merger, which would likely come in 2023, but don't expect to hear anything definitive about Kodak's future until the deal goes through. And the last one, and I think this might be the most important one potentially, the public opinion of Blizzard. Aside from its cultural issues, Blizzard is not in the best shape on the video game side of the public perception either. While Blizzard, separate from Activision's library, has some of the most impressive IP in all of gaming, many of those games aren't in great places right now. World of Warcraft is suffering from its worst back-to-back expansions ever and a massive wave of player frustration, while Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 are both languishing in long and turbulent development cycles. The StarCraft IP has remained largely dormant since 2015 StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, and the only games on the near horizons are mobile-only versions of Blizzard's major franchises. While this may be the lowest point for Blizzard's story universes, this could end up being a good problem for Microsoft. Despite ongoing development on a new Diablo and a sort of sequel to Overwatch, this is as close as Blizzard has ever come to a square one since its inception, which could give Microsoft and Blizzard the chance to get the studio back on track by going back to some of its signature franchises. More importantly, with the addition of Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft can put these new titles and perhaps even games like World of Warcraft in front of players for a flat monthly fee. So I think those are all, good things to point out. That most of those things I don't see people talking about. Obviously, Bobby Kodak was probably the one that people talked about the most, but
it's just, I don't know. Like I said, they might acquire this, but that doesn't mean they're getting the cream of the crop. In fact, I kind of look at them getting this as them getting sloppy seconds, because all these series are in trouble. Bobby Kodak's there. We all know the workplace environment and the reputation isn't as good. So unless they're going to do something immediately, I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, I would say the reason this costs so much in the first place is mostly based on, one, they make a fuck ton of money on microtransactions, but other than that, I would say, I don't know business, but if I were to guess, probably a very large majority of that money was spent literally just on the Call of Duty IP alone. That's probably by far the biggest part of this acquisition, because it's the biggest moneymaker. It comes out every single year.
Yep.
There's constantly content, coming to these games. They're constantly making billions of dollars in revenue. There's constantly millions and millions of players playing across the different games, whether it be Warzone, Modern Warfare, Cold War, Vanguard, whatever it be. And then, all the other stuff you're paying for is, again, mostly access to those old IPs that do make a lot of money, not nearly as much as Call of Duty, but a lot of them will make a lot of money. They're money makers. They have storied histories. All of Blizzard's games are, just sell like crazy normally. Obviously, like it said, they're in a very turbulent place right now, and a lot of their recent games and recent expansions for their existing games haven't been great, but
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Realistically though, like I said, they're just going to stonewall everybody. It's going to be a backlash kind of thing, and they're probably going to start making jokes like, you guys got sloppy seconds, how you feel? I don't know. it's I don't think they could turn the tide until Bobby Kodak leaves, and until he leaves, I will not change my opinion on it. And you know, if they are gonna sit there and go, oh, Xbox exclusive, well, they can shove it up their ass because I'm not getting an Xbox. So it's far beyond that. At that point, I think I might just find ways around it then.
Depending on the game, like I might play those on my PC because I already have Xbox Game Pass for Forza. So for me, like, as much as it would suck to not be able to play them on my PlayStation and earn trophies for them, like, at least I would still be able to play them. But I know a lot of people do not have that, luxury. I know a lot of people only have a PlayStation or, whatever. So,
Yeah, like unless something catastrophic happened that Xbox turns the tides, because clearly they lost the console war. Unless they somehow turn the tides exponentially, I don't see myself even really contemplating getting an Xbox. I mean, I could easily afford one if I want to get one right now. It's just I just don't give a shit to have an Xbox. I mean, I almost got an Xbox back when the PS2 was coming out, and I'm like, no, get me an Xbox, get me a PlayStation, because my mom's like, oh, well, I have an Xbox on layaway. I'm like, get me a PlayStation. Like, even from the beginning, I was like, nope, I just don't want any part of it. So sure as hell not going to change my opinion 20 years later, I can tell you that. So the ball's in their court as far as I'm concerned. They realistically, Xbox, when they buy this, they inherit all of the drama and all the doubt, because
yeah.
you can't just buy a company and say it all is well. No, you inherit what people think, because that's how the world works. And if they think it's gonna just be flowers and daisies, I hate to break to them, that's not how it's gonna go at all. So yeah, we'll definitely see.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, and you have to imagine too that all the controversy probably made buying this company way cheaper than it would have been. So like,
Yep.
Holy fuck, could you imagine? I mean, I don't think they would have been able to fucking afford. I mean, well, no, that's not true. Microsoft is a multi-trillion-dollar company. They could definitely have afforded them before. But I mean, if you weren't like, if these, all this controversy hasn't been going on, I would think an acquisition of this kind would have been over $100 billion probably, which is fucking insane. But
yeah, so they're low balling anything at the market. I mean,
I think I don't know how business stuff works, but they even overpaid their market cap by a lot. So I think Activision's market cap was like 58 billion and they're paying 78 billion. So I don't know how any of that stuff works. I just know that that's like the market cap is essentially, I think, what they're valued at. Like, but I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Yeah. If this acquisition goes through, Microsoft definitely has an uphill battle in terms of public perception of the inner workings of that company.
No doubts on that.
And then the last one I guess I'll go through real quick is what the Activision Blizzard deal means for game devs and platforms. This is by Simon Carlos over at Polygon. So what does Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard really mean for regular game developers and game platforms? Well, firstly, it's complex. No one deal like this is transformative, and no one deal can significantly hasten the path to the future. But this acquisition, which used the equivalent of over half of Microsoft's $130 billion of cash on hand, by the way, feels significantly different from the ZeniMax Bethesda deal, and not just in terms of sheer money paid. But the Bethesda acquisition was just $8.1 billion. Felt a bit more like we would like to make more great content and give Game Pass a large boost. That's a great way to spend some money. The $68.7 billion Activision deal feels more like we see what other big companies like Apple and Facebook are planning for the future of the internet and games, and this is our response. So let's drill down into multiple angles on this deal. We'll end up at a place where you can decode ramifications for everyone else making games, not just owned by Microsoft. So what even is a platform, or the metaverse? Where it gets complicated is how the idea of a game platform is evolving. Surely Xbox is a hardware platform. That's the traditional use of the word. But Game Pass is a platform that spans multiple types of hardware. Xbox consoles, PCs, cloud-enabled mobile devices, and more. And beyond that, games, Minecraft, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, you get the idea, can be platforms themselves. Perhaps in Microsoft's current parlance, quote, metaverse platforms. Yes, I know that a lot of us aren't fans of the word metaverse being slung around too aggressively, given its mushy nature and Facebook's attempted commandeering of the conversation around it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I don't trust Facebook worth a goddamn fucking anything. But large companies need to stake out their own view on what is a stock-moving word right now, which is why Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said as part of Activision Blizzard announcement, quote, in gaming, we see the metaverse as a collection of communities and individual identities anchored in strong content franchises accessible on every device, end quote. This is a clear indication that Microsoft believes a monolithic approach is going to fail. And Microsoft's point appears to be that, quote, cool video game stuff for everyone on all devices is the way to go. Thus, by combining so many of these in-app purchases, microtransactions, or subscription-based models, you can make profitable revenue on all the other on the other platforms, on the other people's platforms with your game platforms, such as Minecraft, while also creating growth and profit on game subscription platforms like Game Pass that include games with multiple business models, including pay-to-play once games, while also generating revenue by not necessarily pushing for lots of profit on your actual game hardware platforms. Think I'm getting a bit hung up on the definition of a platform? This isn't just semantics, and it has real ramifications for game developers. For example, imagine if the only serious money you could make as a game dev was to make your game inside an interconnected universe controlled by a single company. This is probably the ultimate ideal, implicitly if not explicitly, for some of the largest platform holders out there. Facebook in particular has a closed approach to its platform and seems to dream of the successor to the mobile internet being one company with a dominant metaverse offering, but that is not where Microsoft is going. Perhaps it's a hangover from the antitrust lawsuits of the 1990s and how they affected Microsoft culturally, but Windows by and large being an open platform for developers and recent wars between Microsoft and Apple in particular means that Microsoft has an allergy to restrictive hardware platforms and to distribution taxes. Another quote from Nadella during Tuesday's announcement that includes clear Apple shade built into it. Quote, today we face strong global competition from companies that generate more revenue from game distribution than we do from our share of game sales and subscriptions. We need more innovation and investment in content creation and fewer constraints on distribution, end quote. It's notable that Microsoft sees Apple as the, quote, bridge troll, sitting there waiting for its 30% tax on any goods and services that pass over it on the way to the iOS platforms. Of course, Xbox platforms also levy the same tax on third parties, albeit far fewer of them. But being the underdog in the console wars versus Sony and having a corporate parent with the deep pockets has allowed Xbox to pivot away from this traditional model and aggressively scale Game Pass. In particular, if your first-party games aren't really firing on all cylinders, that gives you carte blanche to change your entire business model. You're not really losing money in doing so, so this Xbox disadvantage got turned into a plus. You can definitely argue that, quote, we make or package together something and demand money for it is better perception-wise than, quote, we build hardware platform and sit there to tax everything coming in through it, end quote. Xbox has been getting very good PR from fans and developers alike for this approach. So, what's the deal's ramification for developers? There won't be immediate changes to how game developers see the market. Not today, not tomorrow, and not the day that the deal closes. But this deal does allow more of the industry's biggest games to be shifted towards Microsoft business model, and that will nudge the industry further toward the model over time. If you were to ask me what the model of gaming is going to be in 5 to 10 years, I suspect it may be the following. If you're making a pay once, play once PC video game of any significant budget, or if you want multi-million player distribution for it at launch, you may need to put it on a subscription service to be successful, whether that be Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, or others such as Netflix. These types of games will absolutely still exist, though. If you're making a games as a service title that's paid but also has microtransactions such as GTA Online, you have more ability to go at it alone. But you may want to use a subscription service to find new players. That comes with the bonuses that a Game Pass-like service has to pay you for inclusion, and B, you'll get more money from its subscribers over time. If you're a smaller game dev and you want to keep making games with whatever business model you'd like for open non-subscription platforms like Steam, then go for it. I don't believe Valve intends to change its business model at any time in the future, and there's always going to be a space for breakout hits created on those open services. In the medium term, there are clear possible disadvantages for traditional game developers here. Here are some of the most obvious that I see, and most are Game Pass-centric. if Microsoft is moving many more big games into Game Pass, first from Bethesda and later from Activision, it's going to push even more choice and attention to the top end of those titles. If Microsoft can keep scaling its user base, people will still check out smaller games on Game Pass, but there's definitely a big get bigger situation here, especially given microtransaction-centric games as a service are often so large, polished, and attention-grabbing. It continues a larger trend, which is that Microsoft is highlighting Game Pass on its hardware platforms at the expense of regular pay-once games that are not on Game Pass. Indie devs never did that well on Xbox anyhow, but the lack of focused discovery going forward will continue to be a disadvantage for them. As Game Pass and similar services get more important, the games that do make it in these services reach a massive audience, but those that don't may have issues. Negotiating with Game Pass-like entities is essentially a disintermediation. You now have to pass another gatekeeper, a content gatekeeper in this case, to make it to the big stage. Ultimately, I think most game developers won't really know what to think about this deal. It's another big get bigger deal, and it's another large tech companies are eating the world deal, which is at least mildly disconcerting. But I know that was a whole lot of shit that I just read, JP. But
Right.
I think it's fair to point out that this won't just have ramifications on the consumer base, but this will also have large ramifications potentially on game developers, which is a whole nother problem entirely.
Yeah, it's gonna have a lot of repercussions. So I just hope they know what they're doing with this whole deal, and it's not a monopoly. Because one, it's not gonna work, but two, it's really not gonna work then when you throw everyone else in. But yeah, it's. I mean, like I said, it's the ball's in their court. So however they want to dictate the whole thing, there's going to be pros and cons to anything, and that is definitely going to be one of them.
Yeah,
especially with money involved.
yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, we will continue to talk about this if as more information comes. If more information comes, I'm sure we will speak about it more as we learn more. But JP, I know you got to get ready for work, so we're going to wrap things up here.
Yeah,
guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the HexxedPhenom Gamescast. Let us know in the comments if you're on the YouTube, or I don't know if any podcast services have comments, but let us know what you think of this whole merger. Are you excited? Are you worried? Oh, just let us know what you think. Very interested to see how people think about this. But with that being said, of course, this is the HexxedPhenom Gamescast. It goes live every Saturday on youtube.com/HexxedPhenom and on podcast services around the globe. And guys, until next time, have a phenomenal week.